This is section 12-6. What is air resistance? Pages 258 to 259. Key terms include air resistance, force that opposes the movement of an object in air. Terminal velocity, the speed at which air resistance and gravity acting on a falling object are equal. Vacuum, empty space, void of matter. Falling objects, the force that opposes the downward motion of an object falling through Earth's atmosphere is called air resistance. Air resistance is not the same for all objects. The greater the surface area of an object, the greater air resistance. Suppose, for example, an oak leaf and an acorn fall from a tree. The leaf flutters and slowly falls to the ground, where the acorn drops slightly down. As each object falls, air pushes up against the surface of the objects. The leaf has a greater surface area than the acorn. As a result, air pushes with more force against the leaf than it does against the acorn. The leaf is slowed more than the acorn, so the acorn hits the ground first. 1. Predict. Which falling object will hit the ground first, a marble or a feather? Terminal velocity. When an object is dropped from a high place, gravity pulls the object towards Earth. As it falls, gravity causes the object to accelerate. Its velocity and air resistance increase at a steady rate. At some point, the upward force of the air resistance becomes equal to the downward pull of gravity. At this point, the object reaches its terminal velocity. It stops accelerating, and its velocity remains the same for the rest of the downward trip. Part 2, describe. What happens to object's velocity as it falls? Free fall. A vacuum is empty space. If a bowling ball and a sheet of paper were dropped from the same height in a vacuum, they would hit the ground at the same time, because there is no air in a vacuum. There is no air resistance to slow the object's fall. All objects fall at the same speed in a vacuum. When Apollo astronauts landed on the moon, they tested this idea. There is no air on the moon. One of the astronauts dropped a feather and a hammer at the same time and from the same height. Look at figure 12-21. What do you think happened? The hammer and the feather hit the ground at the same time. Part 3, define. What is a vacuum? This ends section 12-6.